Anyway, what's up, Geoff?
Not much, man. No, losing
Any misery you'd like to add?
Losing recordings is just, it's the worst. There's nothing when you're in this business, man. It's a good way to put a sour note on your day.
Yep. It's not even mine. I'm just filling in for Lofty. Unbelievable. Welcome in the midweek NBA Jock Market Special. That's right. Jeff's in the house. Don't worry. I'm here. Mike Awesemo is producing. And, well, the three of us are going to try and do some damage here between what you're going to see on the Jock Market app thanks to Mike and what you're going to hear about how to attack the Jock Market app thanks to Geoff. I'm just here trying to win some money like you. So hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed here. We also have a ton of new content popped up on the Odd Shopper channel. And make sure you download the Jock Market app right away. We're going to give you that promo code. Your first deposit match, right, up to $100. Our code is Awesemo. Take advantage of that. What's happening, my friend? Busy night tonight in the end. I feel like this is a huge slate, kind of the big one that we haven't had in a while, right?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it right now. So many different ways we can go and so many different names to talk about tonight. And obviously it's the Jock Market format, which opens it up to, a million different ways to do it too. You can go in, play, get on those pregame IPOs. So we'll give out, obviously we're going to try and do our best here and give out as many, strong plays as possible. Like I said, the nice thing about Jock Market is, you can get on a few cheap guys, you can spend up as much as you want. And obviously if you go over to Awesemo, we got guys kind of in all ranges for you too. So.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned just looking at this slate, and it's amazing because you have so many different games out here, but we have, I think, at least 4 above 230 as far as, in the totals. Here come the Kings again, another super high total as they host the Nuggets at 239.5. You also have that Bucks game coming off a back-to-back hosting Atlanta. That's expected to be a shootout. We have the Wolves hosting the Thunder, and granted, and this is what I like about that game too, is, unlike that Blazers Jazz game where it's an 18-point line, but you still have a lower total at around 221, even though Portland, that Thunder Wolves game is like 231.5, right? Depending on where you're looking. And it's still a super high line. So there is an expectation that the Thunder are not going to go for, like 70 points at the very least. The Lakers Rockets, I don't want to bury a lead here. That's 233.5, man. So there are a lot of high scoring games in which we can attack, even from the, like if the Kings are up and you have a favorite like the Nuggets who are down early, or, maybe the Jazz. I know that's a little bit lower of a total there. Same thing with the Wolves, right? Maybe the Thunder get up in the first quarter, or the Hawks take advantage of that back-to-back. So is there a high-scoring game that you think we should start with, and then we can kind of look and sprinkle around where we are?
Yeah, it probably, look, there's injury issues around the NBA too. So
right.
Maybe Lakers Rockets is a good place to start. I know it's not like the highest total, but
it's a big one.
There's going to be opportunity there, and we probably need to touch on it, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned, you mentioned some of the other ones, but this one also has one of the closest point spreads out there. It's only 5.5 Lakers, and like LeBron. Like the news I've been reading, his knee is actually swollen here, and he may be actually in danger of missing another game. So that's something to watch for. And, guys like Talon Horton Tucker, you could probably go down. Obviously you can go down further, but that's just the first name that comes to mind in terms of players. Malik Monk obviously is another one. And those guys both have questionable tags too. So
right.
This game could just be like, there's a lot of opportunity to pick up on cheap players. And,
go ahead, say his name. Say his name, Geoff. Go ahead. I know you saw him there. You were a little hesitant. Go ahead. You can say Carmelo. It's okay.
I think I said Carmelo on one of these shows. I wasn't sure if you're going to get Westbrook or Carmelo, but yeah, Carmelo makes sense. Westbrook is Westbrook. He's always out there giving it his all, at least. But yeah, Carmelo right. Tonight. The last game without LeBron. 30 minutes.
Sure,
that's good. The shooting is what it is. It's it comes and goes with Melo, but I don't know. You could certainly get on it. It's Houston, right? So, and for Jock Market formats, again, it's what you're paying for him and what the market is going to pay for him. So I don't mind it, I guess. I would probably rather look if LeBron is out, I would probably rather look to the Houston side, to be honest, than getting on than spending too much on the on a guy like Carmelo. I think Talon Horton-Tucker would probably be my preferred option there. Although I'm honestly, I'm not that pumped about any of these Lakers guys, as you can probably tell by my tone.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have started this game, but
no. I think that's good though, because look, people may be rushing thinking, oh, it's a short line, high total. Let me take advantage of a couple of these guys. But you mentioned like THT, questionable tag. Malik Monk will play, but he's playing through injury, and the volatility of Melo and Westbrook. So while I kind of kid about Melo, even though he may be a better option with LeBron out, you fading or you staying away from people is just as important as you telling us who to go to. So absolutely, I think that was a good start.
Yeah,
but you like Houston.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Houston side has more opportunity. I mean, if Christian Wood plays, that's fine. I mean, I think you can definitely pile on Christian Wood here. He's been really good of late. He's had like a couple really big games, and I mean, obviously it's the Lakers. I mean, just bottom five in terms of defensive efficiency, and if LeBron isn't out there as well, I mean, but the market will pile into Christian Wood, so that is something to consider. I think the better play will be to try and jump on a guy like Alperen Sengun here, regardless of whether Wood is out there or not. You look at Houston's lineup. I mean, Wood coming off, I believe it's illness, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So, maybe not in for like the biggest minutes there either, but there's a few other injuries like around with Houston as well. I mean, Jason Tate is questionable tonight too. I think if either one of those guys sits, Sengun, who's just been a guy I really like to target in Jock market when he's cheap, and the opportunity might just be up there because he's a pretty efficient fantasy producer. So I think that's a cheap player you should really be looking at for this game. And I think, Jalen Green as well. I mean, if either one of those players miss, I mean, Jalen Green's been a pretty consistent fantasy producer here. If, even if Wood plays and let's say Tate misses, I mean, I think that bumps the usage up. It's probably better for Sengun, but I would really not hesitate to go to get on Green here, because we're not sure how many minutes Wood is going to play. And I think Green has shown that, he's kind of deserving of getting a little bit of a bump. So I like the Houston side a lot more.
Yeah. And I think you're going to get a lot of value there as you laid out as well. So if there's anything else, I mean, look, again, throughout the day, make sure this video is being shot 1:00 Eastern time. So stuff changes. Somebody misses a shoot around, but then all of a sudden becomes eligible or plays. You want to make sure that, you're taking advantage of information as it happens. But just looking at how you laid it out, it makes a lot of sense to be targeting Houston a whole hell of a lot more than especially the Lakers side there. So that's fine. We can move and hit a couple of other of these high total games by all means, and then try and find some guys who have value in maybe some lower totals. But looking around, I don't know what you think as far as catching a team off a back-to-back, right? We've had a couple of these games at Atlanta and Milwaukee. Maybe there's an opportunity there for the Hawks to come out and do something that is a tight line. And maybe that does have a little to do, at least, with Milwaukee just coming off. I know that Allen and Connaughton's still out there, but for the most part, I don't know. I was a little surprised at that. I think, Geoff, more so than the high total, is that Milwaukee is, a pretty tight home favorite for a Hawks team that is just overall, I don't think, a 4.5 point dog in Milwaukee.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, looking at that line, it's still sitting at 4, kind of expecting it to move before game time if we're just talking in terms of line. But I think, I guess a lot of this is just about being on the back-to-back, but I'm not sure. I'm not really like, you're right. I mean, I think Bogdanović is one of the players I'd circled from this game. And it's for the reasons you just laid out, though. It's because we've got a close line, right? If this wasn't as close, or if this was a little bit bigger, I mean, I'm not sure if I'd be as hyped about him, but he's been really consistent. He's been shooting it well. He's been shooting from volume from 3, which I really like. And now he's getting, it's not the greatest matchup, but we got to kind of go with what the lines are telling us sometimes, and what the projections are telling us. And I think that's kind of where I would be leaning towards in this game if I'm looking to try and target someone from the Atlanta side. Now, from the Milwaukee side, I mean, look, we were on, Giannis was like the top projected play for us last night. He absolutely, deserved it. And he went off and he's up there tonight as well. I mean, I don't really have a problem paying up for him. I mean, you look at his Jock market, his IPOs, they've really been up there the last couple nights. And, he was, I think he was 4th on Jock market and he still returned negative ROI. So I don't think his IPO is going to be as big tonight because I think people will be kind of shying away from him after paying up so much to get on this guy the last couple of games, and then just being disappointed, not from the standpoint where he had like bad games, but just when you're paying that much on Jock market, if he doesn't finish top 2, you're not getting a return. I think you could see Giannis dip a little bit tonight. And I think that's kind of worth taking advantage of from the top players. So I don't really see any reason why he wouldn't have a monster night. I mean, he hasn't played that big minutes lately. Actually, yeah, he played sub 30 minutes last night. So that's something else. I'm actually pretty high on just getting on him here. I think this is a spot where you'll see the public kind of dip on him, at least from a Jock market perspective, because
I can see that
they're just tired of paying up and not getting the returns. I mean, that's why we always talk about the value plays and the cheap guys on Jock market, because we want players who going a little bit under the radar and their IPOs aren't going to get bid up. Giannis has been sky high IPOs lately, and I think you'll see that dip tonight. And I'm not afraid of playing one a back-to-back after 28 minutes. So,
yeah, I think that's a good point too, because people may initially just say, "Oh, back-to-back, busy game, huge performance. Let me stay away from him." But then you start to look at the amount of time that he was out there. The other look, you're going to get Middleton and Holiday love out here clearly. The one guy, though, that I am interested in because of multiple ways in which he can get you. And again, I don't think that this is any hidden gem that I'm uncovering here by any means, but he's a guy that I love to target from volume from 3, but he could easily, as we saw last night, get you 18 and 14 without going over his 3-point total. That's Bobby Portis. And I always feel like he's this 4th guy that kind of hovers on, the field, either going to the top 3 guys or maybe thinking they're outsmarting everybody and going to Portis. But I still like him as a really good option, especially if he's looked at or on like a Jock market app, for example, Geoff, as that 4th option where you can take advantage of some sneaky value.
Yeah, Bobby Portis is a great play last night. His IPO was up there a little bit, but it was a smaller slate, and I think people were probably gravitating towards him. And you're right. I mean, like, he's just a really solid fantasy producer, and he can get hot from 3. And I mean, he lit it up last night. He didn't even score that many points. So, I mean, I think that he's going to fall into the same basket as Giannis. We've got a massive slate. People see, oh, well, Milwaukee's on a back-to-back. I can't play them. I mean, and they'll just go to another game. What did he play 28 minutes last night too? Like these guys are not coming off big totals. They won by 30 points over OKC. So I think the Milwaukee starters are great plays tonight. Absolutely. We'll see if I'm right about, maybe the IPOs coming down. Maybe they don't, but and again, like if you get crazy, you don't want to get too crazy with the bids here. You've got to, so one like strategy thing with Jock market, when you're putting out bids, like don't go into the FOMO mode. I mean, you're looking for the best value. If you get outbid, fine. Like let other people pay too much for it on Jock market. Look for the values. Look for, if the Milwaukee players aren't getting bid up tonight, great, get a piece of them. I think they're in a good spot. But if they're not, don't worry about it. Let someone else pay $19 for Giannis or whatever and go somewhere else to some of these other cheap guys that we're going to talk about. So,
yeah, man, I think that's a really good way to look at this. And the more you talk people into playing the Bucks, especially off the circumstance of last night, where it's not, look, they played last night, but this is not the wear and tear that we normally see of a 38-minute down to the wire type game for a lot of guys. I don't know what the hell is going on with this line. And B, I recognize A is a trap, but I'm still going to lay the 4.5 at home now for the Bucks. I know it's a trap. There's something is wrong with this, but I can't help myself, and I'm going to blame you and your spot-on analysis as far as why to rush to these guys on Jock market. Okay.
Well, I don't know. And another way to play it on Jock market might be, look, if the Bucks start slow, you can play the kind of rebound of it. If the Bucks start slow and their stars start slow, and again, if other people have overpaid IPO and you don't get a piece of them, well, after that slow first quarter, it's not like their minutes are going to get cut if we've got a close game and they're behind. So there's a lot of different ways to play the Milwaukee guys, but I think they're in a great spot. And I don't even mind getting a piece of Atlanta. Maybe it's a hedge. Maybe you're going to take the Bucks and you get a few pieces of like Bogdanovich or even like I don't know, like Daniil Hunter or I'm sorry, DeAndre Hunter. I was going to say Daniil Gallinari. I comboed their names. So you can play both. You could get pieces of both those guys, but you could definitely go after a few small pieces of Atlanta. It's almost like a small hedge, a jock market hedge, if you're taking the Bucks to cover. So
love that. All right. So a couple of games that I wanted to target with you, but I can save that if there was another one. I know that Kings line tight with Sabonis out. You know, we have that Blazers Jazz that is just ridiculous here. I love where Dallas is right now. And look, line aside, they've won 5 straight. They're really just cooking right now. Looks like Brunson will play. The flip side is the Knicks team, where they're down a couple of guys. You know, whatever the hell happened with Mitchell Robinson the other night, he's out. Looks like Noel's out. Barrett's out, or not Barrett, pardon me. Cam Reddish is out. So the Knicks have won 2 straight, and I feel like they've pumped themselves up. You know, Ben Stiller is tweeting from Hollywood now about this Knicks team. This is a perfect opportunity to get smashed, especially because Dallas is so good defensively. I'm thinking I want to target the Mavs here, but maybe not as obvious as a Luka play.
Okay. Yeah, no. And I'm kind of with you on how this game is. I mean, you're right. Like 2 games and now they've got like this depleted lineup going up against, you know, the Mavs who are playing well. That's an interesting, like, it's an interesting kind of scenario, right? Like, who do we want to target on Dallas? Because I think there's a little bit of blow concerned here too. Although, oh yeah, I mean, I didn't take a huge look at this game just because obviously we have 11 games to go over. And I mean, this one has a lower.
And I threw you on the spot is what you're basically saying.
No, it's okay. I mean, who on Dallas, like is potentially going to get more minutes too, if they're ahead? I mean, like is Maxi Kleber kind of like interest you? I mean, I assume like he might get a few more looks like later in games or.
Yeah, I think, sorry.
No, I was going to say.
I wasn't sure if you were pausing to look or if you were throwing it back to me, but no, you're right. I think what I may want to do is kind of cheat and say, yeah, Dallas is going to be up by a lot, but it's not going to be as a result of Luka. And, you know, maybe I can target DFS, who's been shooting the ball, at least from a volume standpoint, pretty well. Maybe I can target a sneaky guy like Reggie Bullock, who could get me like 5 or 6 looks from 3 early on. But yes, as soon as this thing gets out of hand, or you start to sense this thing get out of hand, I'm with you. I want to target guys who are going to be out there for the majority of the second half, even though their team could be up by 20 points. First, so maybe there is a small window here where you can target the DFSs of the world and then get the hell out when they're up by 20 at the first half.
Yeah. And yeah, the problem with Dallas is, I mean, I don't absolutely love any of the upside with the guys outside of Luka, but you know, this game does have the potential. I think it's worthy to bring it up for the fact that a lot of people are going to be thinking that, right? Like if everybody is kind of thinking, well, this game isn't that exciting. I mean, like getting Finney Smith for cheaper is going to be something that is probably going to be very like doable tonight, right? And I mean, this is a player who's played like well over 35 minutes. No, sorry, not his average well over 35 minutes over his last 5 games. You know, the massive totals aren't there, but he's also just missed double doubles in like 2 of his last 5 games too. So I think that's probably where I would go to is Finney Smith. Pay up for him. You could certainly, this is a game where if I did pay up for someone like that, I definitely want to take your advice there and watch if this thing was getting out of hand, but this does stay close too. I mean, I think Finney Smith is a good target here. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, we could talk about the Dallas bench, but there's really no one I'm like super uber confident on. I think the bench we should probably focus on is like for the Knicks, if anything, right?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you more about was if there's anybody outside, like Julius Randle's not going to score 46 points and knock down 8 threes tonight. So
I don't think so either.
Right. And I'm a little iffy on RJ Barrett. I think what you could do is target a guy like, again, if you think, Geoff, this game is somewhat close, you could target a guy like Evan Fournier, knowing that he is on a somewhat of a downswing from volume and has that ability to go for, 10, 11 looks from 3 on any given night. Outside of that, I mean, are you going down like quickly? Are you going down, deep in the bench?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking is quickly. I mean, they've been giving him solid minutes and I don't know why they necessarily limit him. I'm trying to look, like they really haven't, they've played well late. So we don't have like a big like sample where, they've kind of gotten blown out and they still said, well, we're going to give him minutes. But I think that's realistic that they would, keep quickly in there for a fairly decent amount of time if they were sort of getting on a blown out. But maybe, I don't know, like Taj Gibson going to see any run? I don't know. It's probably too thin for this biggest slate. I think quickly is someone you can think about coming back. But yeah, if we're being honest, the Knicks, it's probably a stretch to like invest too much here tonight.
That's fine. All right. Where were you looking right away? Right. Okay, we've got the Jock Market show today. You got to put up with me for a half hour. You get to hang and bullshit with Mike ahead of time, and then you hang with our chat. What was the first thing you were looking at that we haven't touched on so far?
So I think, obviously we have some higher point totals, but one game that definitely sticks out, and this kind of, it's ugly, just like the Lakers Rockets, but it's the Bulls Pistons. And I just think there's going to be some opportunity here that we can be taking advantage of. The Pistons have played pretty well of late too. I mean, like, they've been covering. There could be a little bit more opportunity here too with Isaiah Stewart. I think he's out. I think he's been ruled out already. So, but with him out, I mean, Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, they're going to get a little bit of a bump. And again, on this big a slate, can't emphasize it enough. Probably another spot where you're going to be getting guys for, potentially a little bit cheaper than I think you normally would. And I think the main value, and probably not alone in this, but Marvin Bagley, 36 minutes, around 40 fantasy points in his last outing. Just hit the double-double, so that obviously encouraged him, but I don't see his minutes getting limited with Stewart out. So I think that Detroit, you could potentially even target like a couple of these players. I think this is going to be a close game. Detroit's at home. They've been, like I said, covering a lot lately. Yeah, I like targeting the Pistons tonight, which, sounds like the start of a bad horror movie. So
no. Listen, brother, I know I can't show it to you because I just told you ahead of time I had to redo this long best bets video, but that was one of my plays tonight on it. And so much of it was actually targeting Chicago and their misery, losing 5 straight, most likely not having Vooch tonight again. Yeah. And just this, I don't know what it is, but I have this feeling, Geoff, that this is a team that walks into Detroit tonight entitled with this sense of we're taking on the Pistons. We can stop this win streak at any point now and really just kind of go through the motions. And to your point about laying out Detroit, some sneaky opportunities for value on Jock Market, but just the game itself, I want you to not feel like you have to take a shower after the show because you gave out the Pistons in this game. I'm right there with you, man.
All right, good. I'm glad you're there. They've been paying off pretty nicely, like in a lot of different areas. So I don't know who I like Sadiq Bey. He's a guy who tends to like really pop when he pops. Cade Cunningham's been playing better of late, but Bey coming off, I kind of like players too who can shooters like Bey, who coming off a little bit of a slow game, didn't play as much as he, slightly below average in his last game as well. So that's probably who I'd lean towards. But I do think like the good value there is probably with Marvin Bagley, who, like I said, he's not going to go completely unnoticed, but we do have a massive slate here. And, the last 2 performances on Jock Market produced well over 100% ROI. I expect his IPO to get up a little bit tonight, but I don't think it's going to get crazy or anything. And I just do not see his minutes dropping. And if he's anything as efficient as he was last game, it should at least lead to like a pretty solid night. So
yeah, I get it, man. I think it's a good place to bring up, especially because with this large slate, games or teams or players even on teams may get lost in the shuffle here. So we can bounce around again. There are a couple of other ones. I was curious, and it's more of the back-to-back, kind of back to that here. It's not a gigantic total by any means, but at 217, somewhat of a short favorite, 3.5 to 4.5, depending on where you're looking. Odd Shopper is always going to give you the best return, of course. But I feel like this Clippers-Wizards game might get lost in the shuffle. And it's a little bit of a risk. I get it, Geoff, but Reggie Jackson was awful last night. And we know that his usage, like the volume of him just holding on to the basketball and his hands and impact on the game is not going away off a bad night. They are favored at home. this might be an opportunity to maybe get Reggie Jackson on a little bit of a downswing, and maybe the field is fading or just not playing him as much because of so many other options on the slate.
I'm glad you remember to target this game, because I love targeting guards against the Wizards.
Okay.
And I mean, look, Ish Smith, he's going to go up against Ish Smith. This is a fantastic game for Jackson to bounce back. He's played under 30 minutes in 3 of his last 4 games too. I think that's a good thing. I mean, Reggie Jackson is their guy. It's not like he's getting supplanted anytime soon. And we've seen his minutes go up and down a little bit during the year, but he's kind of always bounced back with just going into those 30-minute territory. And it's a pretty close point spread, like you said. So the game total here should scare people off, which is great, because we want people to be scared off in Jock Market. Like that's the whole idea. We don't want these players to necessarily get bid up too much. Just us talking about it, we'll delete the video after, but yeah, that's who I would target here. I mean, we could certainly talk about the Wizards side of it, but for the Clippers, I think Reggie Jackson is like definitely where I would go. Now, I mean, like Zubac in the middle, I mean, I actually don't hate that either. It's a little bit different story now with Porzingis back. I guess they have kind of more of a presence there, but the Wizards in the middle typically they're a good team to attack there too. But I think, going up against Ish Smith, I think Reggie Jackson's in a fantastic bounce back spot tonight. Let's hope his IPO, stays low, but whether you want to get on him in game or just, buy him into him early. I mean, this is a player he's gone for pretty negative ROIs his last 2 games. So he's scorned people. I like that, but it was just 3 games ago. He produced 180% ROI on Jock Market, man. So this guy has that big upside potential we love. I think his IPO is going to be cheaper tonight, and it's a really good matchup. So,
all right. So a couple of minutes here as we wind down. Again, hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. You know about the Jock Market app now if you've been hanging with us. So if you haven't downloaded it, do that. Be part of the ecosystem on Jock Market. Your first match based off our promo code Awesemo will match that deposit up to $100. That is absolutely incredible right there. So we're not going to hit every single game just because of the nature of how short the show is and all the different things going on. It would sound like the Micro Machines guy. But are you looking at like Charlotte, for example, always has some interesting guys because of high volume, right? And it's going up against, again, a team, talk about high volume with Tatum and what could happen with Brown. So just from maybe, let's look at that game, right? And I don't know what side you would lean as far as where to start from a player standpoint, but again, you're going to get some high volume guys on either side. So there's not really a wrong answer.
No, for sure. This one's interesting too. Like your guy Terry Rozier has just been lighting it up lately. I mean,
he's back.
Yeah, he's definitely back. But we do wonder, it's a back-to-back. Are people just going to get off him here? I mean, is there a reason to get off him? I don't know. I mean, it's like he's going to get minutes unless this is just like a complete disaster blowout. I mean, Rozier feels like he should be out there for a big portion of this game. And it's probably going to be higher scoring. You can certainly start with like a Jaylen Brown, who has been shooting it a little bit better late. But the one thing I worry about Brown is his overall volume is sometimes it's just lacking when Tatum is out there. Right. So I was thinking a little bit, maybe like Marcus Smart might be a little bit of a good way to invest in this game. A little bit cheaper way to get a piece of that Celtics offense. I should call them the Browns. The Celtics offense. So I think that's fair. And then on the other side, I mean, I'm not really like a big LaMelo Ball guy, but maybe this is a spot where LaMelo kind of shows up, because he is, in a little bit of that Reggie Jackson mold, just from the sense where, his production will go through dips, but like when he really lights it up, he lights it up. And I think Charlotte coming off kind of a bad loss last night to Brooklyn. It's not a bad loss. I mean, they have Durant and Irving back, but I think Charlotte might show up tonight. I really do. I just have this feeling that this game will be a little bit closer than people think at the very least. So, I mean, it's a 7-point spread with Charlotte at home. I don't hate getting a piece of like Melo or Rozier here. They're not guys I would lead with or anything, but it's all about price, man. Like if these stars on Charlotte are going underowned, let's not forget that the spread is only 7. You still got a 226 total here. And, we're expecting Boston to put up points. And if Charlotte does keep this close, it's going to be a lot of points on the other side. So it's an interesting game. We don't have like the injury scenarios necessarily to give us like a ton of value, but I think that the deals on the Charlotte side probably going to be there tonight.
All right, my friend, anybody that you want to hit on the way out before we get out of here that we did not mention that you had down for some reason?
No, I think we kind of hit on most of the main players tonight. I mean, I'm not like big on getting on the Phoenix guys. I liked Eytan last night, but this is just a way tougher matchup. Tyler Hero, again, we got to watch the Jimmy Butler news. I'm not sure if he's been ruled in or out. I think he's still questionable. So that's always something to watch. I definitely don't mind getting on some of the Heat starters tonight either. And I think that'll just be, amplified with if Butler does get ruled out. But I mean, we hit on Detroit. We hit on, that Milwaukee, the starters from Milwaukee. I like, you could maybe look at the Portland game. That's kind of like one spot we didn't go over too much. But the other ones like with Washington and the Clip, kind of another under the radar game I like. So I think we got to hit on most of the main points.
Awesome. At the Fantasy Grind right there is how you can follow Geoff on Twitter at Shander Show. For me, Mike Awesemo producing. Look, hit that thumbs up button, please. If you haven't, we appreciate that. We appreciate you being subscribed to The Odd Shopper channel, but we want you to be part of what's going on at Jock Market as well. That's why you download the app. You put in our promo code Awesemo. We'll match that first deposit up to $100. Hit this last week, so I'm rolling, brother. We hit Rory last week. I'm going Matsuyama, first round leader this week.
Okay. I mean, he's dealing with a little bit of an injury. Just to let you know.
Little bit.
Hey, look, he says it's getting better. So it's not, as long as he's not limping in, that's fine.
As long as he's not Webb Simpson, right? Trying to convince the world that he's fine as he's like crawling over.
As he's walking in one-handed.
Right, right. All right, brother. We'll do it again next week.
Okay, see ya.
Have a great week, everybody. Thanks again.